there's things that you can control, and there's things that you simply cannot control.
You spent the last 3 months chasing this prospect. You stirred up some interest. You finally got them to the point where they're willing to accept the appointment. But then they don't show up for the demo. Now that's hard. That's a difficult pill to swallow. On today's episode, we're going to teach you how to make sure that never happens again. You're going to love this. Hey, everyone. Welcome to another great episode of the Sales Evangelist podcast. I'm your host, Donald C. Kelly, the Sales Evangelist. And I'm so excited for another great episode. I'm so excited to be here with you today. And on this episode, we are interviewing an amazing sales executive. His name is Mr. Nick Sosa. You can find more information about Nick below. Working with IBM right now, and he was a BDR with an awesome organization out of Rexburg. And you can find out more about them, Home Care Pulse. Got their information down in the show notes. People not showing up. Why? I mean, I guess there's just a slew of reasons why, but
Sure.
What are some of the things you see why sellers run into this problem in the first place? And then, we can take some time. I know you have 3 main points that we could dive into.
Sure. Well, right off the bat, as you asked me that question, I think there's things that you can, and this is something that everyone needs to remember as they're doing BDR work. There's things that you can control, and there's things that you simply cannot control. So,
amen to that.
Yeah, and what I mean by that are, for example, things that you cannot control. I can't control you, Donald, to hop on this meeting with me. Even if I did a perfect job, if I did all the steps, of a BDR call, created value, went over, the invitation. Even if I did all that perfectly, I still can't make you do anything. With the 3 things that we've talked about and what we will talk about, I want to talk about the things that you can control. So we definitely want to jump into that for sure.
The 3 of those include focus on the right authority, then make sure there's a reason for them showing up or reason they are showing interest. You have 2 questions kind of focusing on that, and then accept the invite right away.
If you're not speaking to either the decision maker or the champion, it's really hard to progress that call, especially as a BDR, because your main goal is to have a decision maker on the call. If you're an AE, sure, you can deal a little bit more with champions. You have a little bit more leeway, right? Because it's the closing period or the closing phase. So right, you want to do everything right to ensure that closes with champions. But with a BDR, you want to make sure you find the right person. So if I'm calling C-level executives and I'm spending all day calling managers, that's just not going to work, right? So that's why when you get your territory as a BDR, one of the first things that you should do is you should filter out all the decision makers. That way you're spending time with the people that are making those decisions, that are pushing that deal up as champions. And if anyone doesn't know what a champion is, it's a person that is heavily involved in the decision-making process, but doesn't have the ultimate say.
What else can we do to ensure that they're on the same page, we're on the same page when it comes to the reason why they're showing interest?
Sure. Something that I always think about is when you're having an initial conversation with a prospect, you don't want to seem like you have a silver bullet. You don't want to say, oh yeah, we can solve that problem. You don't want to just keep saying that, because they hear that all the time. We can fix your problem. We can fix your challenge. I have this. Yeah. And then when they show up to the demo, the AE is expected to have a silver bullet for every single problem that, they brought up. That's not realistic. That's not going to happen. If that happened, every deal would close on the initial call as a BDR, right? Which would be sick. Right? So what you want to do is you want to share an insight with these people. You want to make sure that you establish industry knowledge. You want to make sure that they know that you know what you're talking about. And then you don't want to just say, yeah, we can totally fix that. You want to dive a little bit into, and not too much, right? You're the BDR. You want to set the meeting. That's the ultimate goal. But you do want to create some value by elaborating on not your specifically the solution, but the business outcome to the solution, right? So that they have kind of a clear picture of what's going to be talked about. You don't want to promise that you're going to fix their problem, but you want to promise that we're going to give it a pretty sweet shot at fixing their issue or their challenge. This might be small. Some listeners might be saying, okay, this is like useless, but I find it very useful. And what I mean by that is when you're closing time, right? When you're getting a set, first off, you want to make it very, very clear what kind of meeting that is, whether it's virtual, a phone call, in-person meeting. You want to make sure they know exactly how you are going to communicate in that meeting. And then you want to make sure that you stamp time on their calendar. And that's, I would say that's the most important thing, because they may be super interested, but they're super busy, right? You're speaking to very high level people, and they might be a business owner, and they're booked, right? So they might be interested, but they simply just forget. That just happens all the time. It's just super simple. They're super intentional on meeting. They're very interested, but they just forget.
If folks out there listening to this want to get in touch with you to learn about what you're doing, maybe what you're doing right now with IBM could benefit them, how could they go about connecting with you?
Yeah, please. LinkedIn. I'm very active on LinkedIn. Please connect with me. I don't claim to be any sort of sales guru, BDR guru, or anything like that. So I would also love to hear back from anyone that has, advice or maybe some tweaks that I can make on some of the things that I talked about. LinkedIn, is going to be the best platform to reach me out on.
Listen, that was Nick Sosa. If you want to connect with Nick, go ahead and find this information in the show notes. Tell him that you heard about him here on the one and only, the Sales Evangelist podcast. I'm super pumped for the things that Nick shared today, and looking at all the content here that he had in this episode. Man, it's just like straight fire. I want you to raise your level of thinking and go out and do big things. Thank you so much. Appreciate you.